Hey coin collectors, it's DC on the Big D, and we have the 1909 VDB penny here. First one we've ever had, and it's just a beauty. And we're going to talk about where that came from and about just what came before and what came after. So let's start with the came before, and then we'll get to the VDB in a minute or less, probably. And this is the coins that came before. Before they had the Lincoln penny, they had the Indian head penny. And as you see, it's not really a Native American at all. It's Lady Liberty wearing a headdress. And you can see it around the top of her headdress here. It says Liberty. And that's what you look for when you look for the quality of these coins. This is one of those coins that'll fool you a little bit because the front of this is just fantastic. The lettering is great. It says United States here in front of Lady Liberty. It says of America back here. Down here at the bottom you see it says 1907. And in 1907 they didn't make it at any other mint, so there's no mint mark on here per se. This is the coin that was engraved by James B. Longacre. And in 1864 there is an L in Liberty's hair, Lady Liberty's hair, way back here, but that's in 1864. After that, there's not one. When we tip it up, there's nothing on the neck or anything else, and you can just see the feathers as they come out here, and this is really good quality feathers. Now, here's the trick with it. On the back, it's all messed up. And so when we look at these, we want the front and back to be good. With the front being good and the back not being good, very little value. This might be worth $1 or two, just depending what somebody's willing to give you for it, but has no real collector's value with this real beat up end here. Has a shield on the top on the back. Has this wreath that goes around it, the outside, with the arrows in it. And see, look at those arrows. That's pretty cool, huh? The arrows kind of coming through. And then it says 1 cent right in the center. So that coin was made from 1864 till 1909, I'm sorry. And this is just a couple years before the Lincoln penny came out. In 1909, they came out with the Lincoln penny, and they came out with it in two different versions, which is kind of an odd thing to do. They came out with one that had the initials on it, the so-called VDB, and that's what this is right down here. Victor David Brenner, who was the engraver of these coins, had his initials on the back initially, and this is the back. It says E pluribus unum here, 1 cent here, 2 sheafs of wheat on each side. That's why sometimes they call it the wheat ears. Sometimes, you know how they call it ears of corn, but some people call them ears of wheat also, this top part. It says 1 cent in the center, United States of America. We tip it up and we see that it is a bronze coin, mostly copper. We get to the front and we see this is a really, really high quality coin. So in God we trust at the top, Liberty here, 1909 here. And if there was a mint mark, it would be right down there underneath the 1909. So this coin with the VDB on it is probably worth between $9 and $15 because they did make a lot of them. They made 28 million, but people really want them. There's also a 1909S with the VDB on it, and that is worth $500 to $700 minimum. So if you can find one with an S and the VDB on it, then you're talking the big bucks. Well, we also had another 1909. Let's see if we can find that. There's that one. So this 1909 doesn't have the VDB on it. And you can see it's slightly different, not quite as good in quality. And they made 72.7 million of the ones without the VDB on it. So this one's probably worth about $2, maybe $2 to $3. I'd give $2 for almost any 1909 I could find. If you can actually read it. Now, they didn't move the VDB to down here, though, so it's not on Lincoln's shoulder. That didn't come until 1918. So let me show you the 1918 1918. And this is also the S, and this is what the S would look like if it was on in 1909. In 1918, way down here, let me see if I can get it better than that, they put the VDB in. There's the V, the D, and the B has a little bit of black in it. So that's where the VDB went, but not till 1918. So from 1910 to 1918 to 1917, there was no VDBs on them anywhere. So that's the S. Oops, let me show you. There's the D. So I didn't have a 1909 D because they didn't make them. But they did start making them in 1911. So here's a 1911 D. So there's the S, there's the D, and here is the VDB, but you have to flip this one over to get to that. And this is also what the Philly would look like. It's because it's from the Philly Mint. It could have an S and a VDB on it, so remember that also. So they made these until 1958, the last year, and here's the 1958. Let me flip it over, and you see it's still the same wheat ears and everything else on it. This is a pretty good 1958, and this is Denver, and then of course the VDB is way down in here on the 1958s, and then in 1959 they came out with the Memorial reverse, and there's the Memorial reverse right there. Came out in 1959. That's of course the Frank Gasparo Memorial. Still had the VDB on Lincoln, the truncation of Lincoln's neck. All right, that's all we have from Big D Coins. We'd love to have you subscribe to our channel and leave any comments you might have in the comments section.